Chapter 15. What you take $1 million? Sorry. Would you take $1 million for what you have? Would you take $1 million for what you have? Question mark. I have known Harold about for years. He lived at 20 South Madison Avenue, Webb City, Missouri. He used to be my lecture manager. One day he and I met in Kansas City and he drove me down to my farm at Belton, Missouri. During that drive, I asked him how he kept from worrying, and he told me an inspiring story that I shall never forget. I used to worry a lot, he said, but one spring day in 1934, I was walking down a West Daughtry street in Webb City when I saw a sight that banished all my worries. It all happened in 10 seconds. But during those 10 seconds, I learned more about how to live than I had learned in previous 10 years. For 2 years, I had been running a grocery store in Webb City. Harold Abbott said as he told me the story. I had not only lost all my savings, but I had incurred debts that took me 7 years to pay back. My grocery store that had been closed on previous Saturday, and now I was going to merchant and miners bank to borrow money so I could go to the Kansas City to look for a job. I walked like a beaten man. I had lost all my fight and faith. Then suddenly I saw coming down the street a man who had no leg. He was sitting on the little wooden platform equipped with a wheel from roller skate. He propelled himself along the street with a block of wood in each hand. I met him just after he had crossed the street and was starting to lift himself up a few inches over the grave to the sidewalk. As he titled his little wooden platform to an angle, his eyes met mine. He greeted me with a grand smile. Good morning, sir. It is fine morning, isn't it? He said with a spirit. As I stood looking at him, I realized how rich I was. I had two legs. I could walk. I felt ashamed of my self-pity. I said to myself, if he can be happy, cheerful, and confident without leg, I certainly can with a leg. I could already feel my chest lifting. I had I had intended to ask the merchant and miner bank for only $100, but now I had a courage to ask for the 200. I had intended to say that I wanted to go to Kansas City to try to get a job, but now I announced confidently that I want to go to the Kansas City to get a job. I get the loan and I got the job. I now have following words posted on my bathroom mirror and I read them every morning as I shave. I had the blues because I had no shoes. I had the blues because I had the no shoes until upon the street I met man who had no feet. I had the blues because I had no shoes until upon the street I met a man who had no feet. I once asked ideal Rick Baker what was the biggest lesson he had learned from drifting about with his companion in life wrapped for the 21 days hopelessly lost in a Pacific. The biggest lesson I learned from that experience, he said, was that if you have all the fresh water you want to drink and all the food you want to eat, you ought never to complain about anything. Time ran an article about Sargent who had been wounded on groundical hit in the throat by the shell fragment. This Sergeant had had a 7 blood transfusion, writing a note to his doctor. He asking, "Will I live?" The doctor replied, "Yes." He wrote another note asking, "Will I be able to talk again?" The answer was yes. He then wrote another note saying, "Then what in the hell I am worrying about? Why don't you stop right now and ask yourself what in the hell I am worrying about?" You will probably find that it is comparatively unimportant and insignificant. About 90% of the things in our life are right and about 10% are wrong. If we want to be happy, all we have to do is to concentrate on the 90% that are right and ignore the 10% that are wrong. If we want to be worried and bitter and have a stomach ulcer, all we have to do is to concentrate on the 10% that were wrong and ignore the 90% that are glorious. The old think and thank are inscribed in many of the Cromwellian churches of England. These old ought to be inscribed in our heart to think and thank. Think of all we have to be grateful for, and thank God for all our bounties, bones and bounties, boons and bounties. Jonathan Swift, author of Gulliver Travel, was the most devastating pessimist in English literature. He was so sorry that he had been born that he wore black and fasted on his birthdays. Yet, in his despair, that this supreme pessimist of English lecturer praised the great health driving power of cheerfulness and happiness. The best doctor in the world, he declared, are Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, and Dr. Merriman. You and I may have a service of Dr. Merriman free every hour of the day by keeping our attention fixed on the all incredible riches we possess, riches exceeding by far the playable treasure of Alibaba. Would you sell both your eyes for $1 billion? What would you take for your two legs, your hand, your hearing, your children, your family, and of your asset, and you will find that you won't sell what you have for the gold you were smashed by the Rockefeller, the Ford, and the Morgans combined. But we do appreciate all these. Uh, no, as Oppenheimer said, we seldom think of what we have, but always of what we lack. As as the tendency of seldom think of what we have, but always of what we lack. This is the greatest tragedy on earth. It has it has probably caused more misery than all the war and disease in the history. It caused John Plummer to turn from regular guy into a gold gross and almost wrecked his home. I know because he told me so. Mr. Plummer lived at 30 19th Avenue, Paston, New Jersey. Shortly after I returned from the army, he said, I started in business for myself. I worked hard day and night. Things were going nicely. Then the trouble started. I could not get a part and material. I was afraid I would have to give up my business. I worried so that I changed from a regular guy into a whole grouch. I became so sore and cross that I didn't know it then, but I now realize that I came very near to losing my happy home. Then one day a young disabled veteran who worked for me you were who worked for me said, Johnny, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You take on as if you were the only person in the world with trouble. Suppose you do have to sort of the shop for the while, so what? You can start up again when things get normal. You have got a lot to be thankful for. Yet you are always growing. Boy, how I wish I were in your shoes. I look at me. I have got only one arm and half of my face is shot away. And yet I am not complaining. If you don't stop growling and grumbling, you will lose not only your business but also your health, your home, and your friend.